Jonathan Clements. The Little Book of Main Street Money is the name of the book. And in your travels around, Jonathan, I know you probably talk to different age groups. Do you sense young people are looking at their retirement now, or are they kind of seeing this as an aberration? And maybe some older people, do you think they'll get back in as far as investing goes? Is this something that, in your travels around, what's the difference between, say, people in their 20s, maybe people in their 50s?
Well, people in their 20s, grew up at a time when, the notion of getting this traditional company pension, that's history. Mm-hmm. Also, people in their 20s, have very little faith in Social Security. So I think this is a generation that is much more inclined to save for their own financial future, and that is great because while I don't think Social Security is going away, there is a chance it's going to get cut back. This is a generation that isn't likely to get traditional company pensions. So it's good to see that being more self-reliant, being more disciplined, and I think that they will have an easier time of it saving for retirement than, say, my generation, people in their late 30s, their 40s, their early 50s, who grew up during the transition period when we went from having a pretty paternalistic society where a lot of big companies had these pension plans, and they moved towards these 401k plans where you had to put in your own savings, where you had to pick your own investments. And that changeover from traditional pensions to 401k plans and similar retirement savings plans, I think, caught my generation off guard, and they weren't really prepared to save for themselves and to pick their own investments. And that's why we see so many families today looking ahead, maybe 10 years to retirement, maybe 15 years to retirement, and realizing they're just not in good financial shape. Mm-hmm.
And you can still prepare for it, even if you only have maybe 10 years. There are ways to do it. It may cost a little bit more as far as saving goes, but it can be done. So not to panic, but there are things you have to do immediately, right? You can do it if you're in your 50s, let's say.
Clearly, if you're in your 50s and you're 10 years away from your hoped-for retirement date, you need to save like crazy. You want to be, you don't want to go out and, say, buy the big house at that point. You want to focus on putting away dollars for retirement rather than buying the big house. If you've got kids that are heading towards college, you should really talk to them about taking out student loans rather than paying for those college bills themselves, because you're going to need that money. And then the other thing that can really make the numbers work a whole lot better is think about, rather than retiring totally at, say, age 65, maybe working part-time in the early part of retirement. If you talk to a financial planner, they might suggest that, if you have savings, you might use a 4 or 5% withdrawal rate. That means for every $100,000 you have, you might pull out $4,000 or $5,000 a year. Well, if you go out and you get a part-time job that pays you, say, $10,000 or $15,000 a year, that's like having a portfolio that's $200,000 or $300,000 larger. So working part-time in retirement can really make the numbers look a whole lot better. And I think a lot of people, as they approach retirement, are going to start to think about that option, not only for financial reasons, but also because it gives them a sense of purpose to their lives. It gives them a reason to get out of bed in the morning, and we all need that.
That's true. Well, John, before we wrap up, talk a little bit about MyFi, the MyFi.com that you deal with now. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, MyFi is a new business that's geared towards helping everyday Americans get their arms around their financial life. We're trying to do things a little bit different from the rest of Wall Street. For instance, our advisors are on salary. They're not on commission. We also have a program called the Financial Wellness Program where people pay a monthly fee, and in return for that, they get help with their entire financial life. So we're sort of looking at new ways not only to pay our advisors, but also to get for people to pay, so that we try to eliminate some of the conflicts of interest that exist on Wall Street.
Well, that's great. I think getting trust back is a big problem right now, so that's a good way to do it. And this book, The Little Book of Main Street Money, has got a lot of great common sense tips in there, and I'm sure it'll help a lot of people. Jonathan Clements, it's been a pleasure to talk to you for a couple of minutes. Hopefully we'll do it again when your next book comes out, but I know people here in Sarasota and the Tampa Bay area are going to be interested in it. Thanks for being with us.
Hey, well, thanks for having me on the show.